Hello, my name is Jiles Smith, and welcome to our community.
Okay, we're a 26-bed shelter, 24 hours, 7 days a week. We have the shelter, we have outreach where we do classes. We have transitional housing where the women can go after they leave shelter and stay in the 24-hour transitional housing for up to 2 years. And we take care of everything. We pay their rent, their utilities, but they have to be working or in school.
How about the drug issue? Nothing?
If they do drugs, we hook them up with other agencies that specialize in that, because we specialize in DV, not drug and alcohol.
Understood.
And some do come with those problems. And when they do, that's when we get in touch with the agencies that provide that kind of help for them.
You deliver some toys here to the a better world. Tell me more about why you do that.
This has been going on for many years, and these last few years, the Spring Valley Lake Country Club helped an angel team and all the gifts that they bring in. If an angel bring in the gift, that all goes to children that are in domestic violence that are raped. And it's just a really great thing because they really give the nice gifts to these children, and Anita here, she distributors come out to the children at Christmas time.
Thank you, and thanks Spring Valley Country Club.
I thank the Spring Valley Country Club because they are responsible for about 60 years, 70 years that come in here.
So they want to reach out next year to help you with raising the toys. They can reach out to Spring Valley Country Club.
They do raise out every year, yes.
So that anybody can reach out to them.
Oh yeah, they have a tree right there by the dining room, and it's got angels on it, and it's so straight to everything.
Thank you very much.
We're going to discuss a very important topic today, domestic violence. Here today, Executive Director from Victor Valley Domestic Violence, A Better Way, Margaret Diaz.
Yes.
First, A Better Way, what does that mean?
Okay, years ago, I'm a survivor of domestic violence, and I left my husband in Oklahoma and I came out here. I lived with him for 16 years, and when I got here, of course, I got a job, and it wasn't doing this. So I worked for a while at a bank. I worked for 5 years, and I kept thinking a woman shouldn't have to flee her home, her state, to get away from an abusive man. But mine was my husband, so the name kept going over and over and over in my head, and I thought, a better way, a better way. There is a better way. So that's how we came up with the name A Better Way.
That's it. Good answer. Now I know. Tell us more about your organization.
Okay, we're a 26-bed shelter, 24 hours, 7 days a week. We have the shelter, we have outreach where we do classes. We have transitional housing where the women can go after they leave shelter and stay in the 24-hour transitional housing for up to 2 years. And we take care of everything. We pay their rent, their utilities, but they have to be working or in school.
How about the drug issue? Nothing?
If they do drugs, we hook them up with other agencies that specialize in that, because we specialize in DV, not drug and alcohol.
Understood.
And some do come with those problems. And when they do, that's when we get in touch with the agencies that provide that kind of help for them.
I understand that of your victims, 85 to 95% are women.
95% as of today, we know for sure. And that could be because men don't come forward. We know some men are abused. In all the years I've been doing this, we've helped 5 men. So the rest have been women. We just feel that men are probably intimidated and they won't come forward, but yeah, 95% are women and children that come to us.
Between 50 and 70% of the abusers, people who abuse, I should say, abuse children as well.
Yes.
So
That's a high percentage. They are the children are very dysfunctional. A lot of times mom doesn't realize that, and here's what she'll say, usually, most of the time. He doesn't abuse the kids. The kids don't know what's going on, but they do know.
right.
They do know. They do know what's going on because they come in, when they come to us, they're very dysfunctional. Sometimes, older boys and girls will start wetting the bed again. I've seen a little 9-year-old boy get out of his bed and get in the bed where mom is, put his arm around her to stay close to her. So we do know that it does affect the children. And a lot of times mom will say, but he never does that. But just think, if you're in that kind of situation and you see mom getting beat up, it's going to affect the children. And it does in school, in health, eating disorders. Like I said, everything comes back to the children.
Well, when you said that, I started thinking, if a son sees his mother in that situation, he's probably more likely to act that same way when he gets older.
Yes.
And if a daughter sees the mother in that situation, she begins to think it's normal.
Yeah.
That shows how he shows he loves me,
It
et
does.
cetera.
That exactly right. Children believe that it's okay. And if mom stays in it, that just gives them 100% chance of marrying an abusive man or being an abuser yourself. If they don't get the help that they need.
I understand that 1 in every 3 women,
Yes.
one in every 3 women are murdered in the United States by their boyfriend every day.
Yes.
Wow.
Years ago it was 1 in 4. Now it's 1 in 3. So we figure with education, women are getting more aware. I don't have to live in this. I can get out. Yeah. And usually he will stalk her up to 30 days is the most dangerous for her to leave. Once she leaves, and in that 30-day time period, he will stalk her, call her, try to find her, kill her.
Go to her job.
Kidnap her.
Those are some of the signs you're looking for then.
Yes. Within the 30 days that she's left.
Right. I think it's very powerful and important for a lady to know that she can actually have a place to go.
Yes. Shelter.
And you need that piece of the puzzle, or they're less likely to make that move.
Very true. A lot of women don't. And then there again, years ago, women stayed because there wasn't shelters. There wasn't a lot of shelters. There were a few, but we were wide spaced out. Here in San Bernardino County, there's 7 of us. There's 7 shelters, and we're all probably anywhere from 18 to 27 beds. Some larger, depending on the area you're in, because we're, like I said, 26 beds, and then there's another shelter that is 26 beds, and then Barstow has one that is, I think, 18 beds. So we can help them, and we can move them back and forth into different areas. We move women all over the state, all over the country if we have to.
Right, just to protect them.
To get her out of the area.
Now, we traditionally talk about male-female relationships, but there are other kind of relationships.
Yes.
There are gay and lesbian
Yes.
relationships, and you help those people as well. Huh?
We do. We help them. They just don't come forward as much, and probably because discrimination. That what will they think? How will they react to me being a gay, the gay community? But we do get calls. We get a lot of calls from the gay men where his partner's abusing him. And we try to walk them through what's available for them. And we won't put them in our shelter, but we'll put them in a motel. And then there's a shelter in Lancaster that will take them in. And then we will transport them up there.
Well, when someone makes a decision to leave, what's some of the things they should take?
Well, if they call, usually some women, when they're planning on leaving, they'll call the hotline and they'll say, what do I need to do? And we usually tell them, get your ID, get the children's shot records, school records, whatever you can, put in an overnight bag, try to hide it where he won't find it, or where he is not suspicious of you. If you have a card, get one of the cars, checking account, leave $5 in there, take all the money. But we're doing it for her benefit.
Right.
Because she doesn't want to, a lot of women don't want to leave just penniless because they don't know what the shelter offers.
Right.
And a lot of people don't know what our shelter offers unless they're there. And then they see, hey, we provide everything for our women and kids. Food, clothing, everything is for them. If they don't have medicine, we'll get it for them.
Mm-hmm.
We do everything for them. We transport all of our women. Our women are never walking the streets. We transport them everywhere they go.
You're never alone, and somebody's with them the whole time.
Yeah, somebody's with them.
You made me a little nervous when you said take the most of the money with $5. But I'm beginning to understand what you're talking about. In a lot of situations, the man is the primary breadwinner, and if he's that controlling, then maybe he has not allowed her to have access to the checking account.
True.
So those are situations over time you've learned. So therefore, that's why your reaction.
Yeah.
Well, exactly who are abusers?
Could be your pastor, it could be your teacher, could be the guy in the grocery store, can be the postman, can be your brother, can be your father, can be your sister, can be anybody, the guy next door. You never know.
You know any signs? Is there any signs that we can tell by a person's an abuser or a person is being abused?
Well, what we tell most of them to watch out for is if control, doesn't want her to work. And if she does, he likes to pick her job. Now, my ex-husband didn't want me to work around a lot of men. Mm-hmm. He liked for me to work in hospitals, with mostly women. Mm-hmm. And he would take me to work and pick me up. Those are some signs and then he would go grocery shopping with me. His name was on our checking account. I didn't have any money. Even though I worked, I would just give it to him and then he would go and deposit it.
Wow.
So this is why, because I've been there and done that, this is why I tell the women, this is how you need to react this way.
Well, what can our community do to help?
Oh, we need money. We need money.
Yeah.
Education, really. Because I don't want to see any woman go through what I went through for 16 years. If it's at all possible, get out. You don't have to. I didn't know there was help available where I was at. And there probably was, it's just I wasn't educated. I did not know there were shelters. I did not know there was a safe place I could go. Because I went to my family, and then after you use up your family and your friends, you have no other place to go.
Right.
You have to go. And on the average, a woman will leave 8 times before we get her.
Right.
Usually. She's
Right.
used up her family and her friends and everybody. And then she'll decide, well, maybe I'll go to that shelter. And we hope they do.
But the social impact, especially when there's children involved, is enormous. We wonder why is kids bullied. Part of the issue with bullying is because they see violence at the house, and they bring it right back to the school, and they get you involved.
Well, if you don't know a different way of living, it's all they know. I mean, little Jimmy may not know that Johnny's not being beat up at home, and he assumes that he's being abused the same way he's being abused. It's a dysfunctional family, and it's all they know. It's a learned behavior.
Do you have any statistics on drugs and or alcohol being affecting this kind of behavior?
I know a lot of people want to say that it's because of drugs and alcohol. I'm not saying it's not, but not every case is. I think it's an escape for him to beat her up. And so he'll get drunk or he'll do drugs, and then he'll say, I'm sorry, because I know my ex-husband did. He would get drunk and beat me up, but he didn't have to be drinking to beat me up.
Right.
And I knew that. It was always my fault. Why? What can I do different to keep him from doing this? Can I stop him from drinking? Can I stop him from doing drugs? And no, I couldn't. I realize that now. But at that time, I didn't, because I was there and I just wanted to know what was wrong with me. I needed to be fixed, not him. Until a psychiatrist told me that I wasn't crazy. He said, there's nothing wrong with you.
I think you're in a situation that most people would find themselves in.
Yeah.
The bottom line is, from a male perspective, they may feel self-esteem issues. They lost their job.
Yeah.
It's not my fault. They lash out as the closest person to them, who's probably the person helping them the most.
Yeah.
And they look for to avoid reality. They may get into drugs and alcohol, but it's a self-esteem issue.
It is.
They want to blame somebody else. They made some bad decisions in their life early. Maybe they didn't finish school, and now the employer decided to fire you because you weren't working as hard as you should have, or you didn't come to work, or whatever, and it's the wife's fault.
It's
that's
always
not-
her and her children. It's
Yeah.
always they're the ones at home. It's their fault,
Yeah.
and you just don't realize it until they've been there and done that. And we always try to tell them, you can't change him. You cannot stop him from hitting you. No matter how much you change, no matter how you cook or how you look, you're not going to change his attitude. We cannot change him. He has to change that himself.
No matter how much you love them.
Right.
Yeah. A lot of people reach out to their churches, local churches, for stuff like this. Have you worked well with them, or?
We do with some churches. A lot of churches donate to us, and they understand what we do. They come and they give them Bibles. We just don't allow a lot of ministry in our church because of the different religions.
Understood.
And we can't force her I can't force a woman to go to a church that she doesn't believe.
I agree.
This is not my belief.
Right.
So we just keep that out. But the churches do know that this is how we are, and that we accept Bibles, gifts, whatever, and then we give them to, and we let them know who gave them,
Right.
and then they can write thank you notes, yes, to them.
Um,
And they're free to go to any church they want to go to.
well, that's good.
That's
good.
yes.
How can we find out more about your organization?
Or our hotline is 24/7, and it's 760-955-8723, and that is 24 hours a day. Someone is there to answer it.
Is there anything else you want to say to the people?
Just that we appreciate the whole high desert, and for them helping us as much as they have. And if you have any money you want to give it to us. And we're a nonprofit 501c3, and we give a tax write-off for you.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
As a founder of the Community Youth Athletic and Academic Program, the CYP, we learned quickly in 2004 that our community has some challenges. We wanted to address more concerns of the at-risk community as well as just the people. So we wanted to focus on three major things. We wanted to create a show called Our Community that was focused on education, informing our community, and inspiring our community. Thanks for being a part.
Well, now you're here today with Anita Gomez as well. She's a case manager, and she's also the youth program coordinator. One reason I asked you to come to Anita is because there's a whole nother dynamic with youth dating and domestic violence, if you will, or dating violence. Have you seen an uptick in that, or has it been the same? Or?
No, it's actually been an increase that we're seeing in the schools. Even through the principals and counselors at the schools, they are calling us and asking us to come in and intervene, or to give kids presentations on domestic violence and teenage relationship violence, so that they can be aware of the signs and what they need to do if they find themselves in that kind of situation.
What are some of the dynamics that you find out? Is it some trends or some commonalities that you're seeing?
Well, we're seeing a lot in the schools. We're seeing a lot of where the girls are hitting the boys and thinking that that's acceptable behavior, and also where the boys are calling the girls out of their name, calling them, bitch and whore and slut and things like that, and just thinking that's the norm for them, and pulling their hair, or trying to control what they wear, who they talk to while they're at school, following them, sometimes asking them to miss class if they care about the relationship, things like that.
Wow. I didn't know that was that prevalent in our schools, but I guess...
Yes, it is.
Wow. Well, domestic violence is not just between men and women. Have you seen an uptick in domestic partnerships or gay or lesbian relationships as well?
We do see that. We hear about that in the schools as well. They're more open to talk about their relationships, of whether it's same sex or not. And so that is one of the things that we talk about, that they still need the education and the awareness so they can recognize.
Well, again, who are these abusers? What is the type that we're looking for?
Abusers, well, that's the thing. It can be anybody. Just like a victim, they come from all walks of life, male, female. It could be the most popular kid in the school. It could be, you talking teens or are you talking adults?
Teens and adults, whatever.
Well, with teens, it could be the popular kid on campus, the prettiest girl in school. It can be your neighbor. It could be the one you work with, your coworker.
So some of the signs saying bruises or something like that, or is that, or a very outgoing person being more introverted, and that's one of the signs.
Absolutely. One of the things you see is if they normally would socialize, now they're not sociable. They will change sometimes their appearance. Maybe they come in all fixed up and now they're, more reserved. They're covering up more. If there's bruises, they're going to try to hide those bruises. They may cancel appointments with you or miss days at work. A lot of victims will call off work a lot because they don't want anyone else to see if they can't cover those bruises, should they get hit in the face or something.
What about the children? If a person, as an adult or a teen, decides to leave, what about the children? What extra stresses are they going to go through? Are they? Do you worry about their school, going to the same schools? What other thought processes should a lady take into account before she decides to leave?
Well, with teens, what we see is there is a problem with that. There's safety issues because should they decide to end the relationship, the other person doesn't always accept that. And because the relationship is based, when it's abusive, it's on power and control, they still want to have that power. And when a person decides to leave, they become more desperate and sometimes even angry and feel betrayed. Like somebody has, well, you've hurt me now, I'm going to make you pay. So we can see stalking in the schools and also with adults. We can see them being stalked and threatened. One of the things is, the parents, if they're trying to leave, if it's an adult trying to leave an abusive situation, they will worry about now where the kids are going to go to school. They're going to have to transfer somewhere else. And, it's all about getting the information, getting them so they're not missing a lot of school.
Well, one last question, at least I'm kind of curious about. When it comes down to it, this is about control, right?
Yes, it is.
If it's a male situation versus his wife or girlfriend, it's about control.
Yes, it is.
And they want to empower or dictate to another person what they can do, what they can wear, and then they lash out. Is that correct?
This is true. This is very true. And this is why people, don't always recognize when it's happening to somebody they truly care about, because they see that person in a different light. And a lot of times, whether they're going in front of a judge or they're going in front of the church or they're going in front of, their coworkers or their neighbors or even other family members, abusers can be very manipulative and controlling. And they use those tactics to make that victim feel like they have no control and they feel hopeless. Because other people don't see that abusive side always. Other people see the kind, generous, very charming, very supportive person, because an abuser is not always abusive and controlling. Sometimes they're loving and caring as well. And so without knowing that, you're like, well, I don't see what the problem is. You must have done something to make them that way. And in truth, the victim doesn't do anything to make them that way. That is who they are with their victim.
So you see those signs, they should react to it. They shouldn't wait for them to manifest themselves into a total blow up. And as Ms. Diaz talked about, you usually leave 8 times before you actually officially leave and show up here, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's a lot of back and forth. And the family members are involved and they're trying to help them through that process, and all of a sudden...
Right, and we the difference between teens and adults, well, the number one reason why a victim won't leave is, the number one reason is fear. The second one to that one is, the lack of resources, the income. And I believe that's why Margaret talked about, taking the money, because they've got to take care of the kids somehow. You don't know what's going to happen out there, and the fear of the unknown will keep you in that situation even longer.
Right.
So with teens, what we see is fear is one of them, but another one is they're hoping they're going to work it out. There's also shame and embarrassment. If they do leave, what about their friends? What are they going to say? Someone's going to make them feel, responsible for that relationship being that way. So they share that.
That's very interesting and tragic in some ways that these kind of things happen, and we have to be forced to make these other choices because of them. What can the community do to help?
The community can do a lot of things. First and foremost, if they've never, considered it before, they could come out to our outreach office, 14114 Hesperia Road, Victorville, California. You can call our office at 760-955-8010 to get more information on how you can help us. The other thing you can do is possibly come to our volunteer training if you'd like to volunteer with us out in the community. We have that at least once a year. And again, call that 760-955-8010 to register for that.
Well, thank you very much today. And this is the end of our show for domestic violence. I want to remind the audience that violence isn't love. Well, thank you very much, ladies.
Can I say one more thing?
Oh, please. We'll cut this in.
Yeah, you want me to just talk to you right now?
Whatever you said.
Okay, I just want to say one of the ways the community has come out to help, this is our holiday season, and we have several people that have come to help us. I believe you met Marilyn earlier from
Yes.
Spring Valley Lake. She's just one of the organizations that has helped us throughout the holiday season. And so our holidays are made easier for our families that come through us by the work that people in the community do. And one of the things I did want to share is we're talking a lot, we've been out in the schools recently with the youth, and Granite Hills High School did the Socks in the Box for us. They collected, just the students and the teachers and staff at that school collected over 2,000 pair of socks for us, which is huge. And that was through Socks in the Box. And so we have an abundance of socks, and we are so grateful to them, and that's part of what the community does. And also some students at Silverado High School gathered some canned goods for us. And these are things that we can appreciate. And believe it or not, even though you think it's not a big deal and it's not making a big difference, it makes a huge difference. So any little thing that you do is going to make a huge difference in their lives. And thank you so much for all your support.